Good morning, everybody. MG here, MG Covers, back in the homestead today, giving you a Major League Baseball preview for Monday, July 27th. We're going to quickly recap yesterday. I'm going to introduce my power rankings for the very first time today. You'll be able to see those. So we'll talk about that, and we also have 2 free plays there at the end. So this will be a little bit longer video than normal. I try to keep these about 5 minutes long. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about yesterday. We actually missed our play. St. Louis was not competitive at all. Just could not get the bats going. Lost that one on the run line, so we didn't pay any juice. So for the year to date, we are 1-2, down 1.15 units. Very early in the season, and being down a unit is perfectly normal with unit variance, unit fluctuations. So we have 2 plays today. Win those, we'll be back up a unit. If you haven't already, if you're watching this video for the first time, greatly appreciate it. If you like this video, also subscribe to the channel. You can go on the channel, MG Covers on YouTube, have a ton of content regarding handicapping. There's a really cool video about contrarian wagering as it relates to Major League Baseball that's very relevant today. So again, ton of content there. So we're going to dive right into it. Let's look at our power rankings. I'm going to pull up the first one. These are actually our lines for today's matchups. Now, first off, I want to talk about how I compute my power rankings. My power rankings are built around OPS. I use OPS for hitting, and I use OPS for pitching. So I basically figure out what the pitching staff's OPS is against the opposing teams that they've played. I combine those together, create a line, and then, of course, convert that into a money line. And you'll see as I go through these that they're very close to the actual lines themselves. And let me pull up current line, so we'll go through these each one by one here. Okay, we look at the Los Angeles Angels and Oakland. Our line is Angels plus 100, Oakland minus 125. This is very close to the actual line. Angels are minus 107. Oakland is minus 113. So like I've said before, if you're trying to come up with a stat model, if your model is very close to the actual lines, that's a good sign majority of the time. If all of your lines are off, it's an indication it's probably not that accurate of a stat model, and we're looking for those games where we do have a huge variance, which I'll show you here in a second. Okay, next game, Arizona-San Diego. We have Arizona plus 130, San Diego minus 135. Actual line, Arizona plus 110, San Diego minus 130. Again, that's dead on. And the beauty of having a stat model, it takes the subjectivity out of it completely. So the lines that we have are strictly stat-based and not based on public bias, which is what the sports books have to use when they're factoring in a line. So if you see a team if they know a team is a heavy favorite that the general public likes, they're going to have to inflate that line, and conversely, they will have to inflate the dog line, and that's where you'll find the value on that side. So pretty dead accurate here on these lines. Toronto, next matchup, we have them at minus 105, Washington minus 140. Again, lines very similar. Toronto plus 115, Washington minus 125. So we have some value there with Washington. The way to calculate that, if you take, I'll pull this up, I'll walk you through this. So you're going to take the lower number. It doesn't matter. You just take both numbers. Hang on, let's pull this back up. Wait for the calculator to load here, folks. What the hell? All right, here's loading. Actually, I can do it on... Let's do it this way. Sorry about that. Okay, so how do you figure out your margins? All right, when I talk about margin, that's what you're trying to find. So we have our line for Washington is minus 140. The sportsbook line is minus 125. So you always take the lower number, put that on top. So that'd be 125 divided by 140. And you end up with 0.89. Okay. Then you take 0.89 minus 1, and that gives you 10. So in this particular matchup, we have a 10% margin. Now, when you're dealing with favorites, you will see that number to be lower. If you remember, in soccer, we generally like to play a team if they have only like to play a team unless they have like a 20 to 30% margin. But when you're playing money line favorites in baseball, that margin will be tight. But we do have margin there nonetheless at 10%. All right, next matchup, move along. Cubs, Cincinnati, Chicago. We have them at minus 140. Cincinnati plus 105. Oops, I said that wrong. My bad. Back up. Chicago minus 140. Cincinnati minus 125. Our line, the actual line is Chicago minus 115. Cincinnati plus 105. And again, value was Chicago in that particular matchup. On to the Braves. We have the line at minus 145. Tampa at minus 115. Tampa surprise team, actually 2-1 to start the season. However, the actual line is Braves plus 124, Tampa minus 134. So we're actually getting very, very good value with Atlanta in this particular matchup. Milwaukee minus 185, Pittsburgh plus 165. That's the sportsbook line. Our line is Milwaukee plus 150, Pittsburgh plus 140. Again, we don't try to keep it between 10 cents or 20 cents, just whatever my power rankings compute. That's the line that I actually show. Okay, so that's those matchups there. Let's go to the second half of games. So we have Baltimore, Miami. Our line is Baltimore plus 115, Miami plus 110. Actual line, Baltimore plus 122. Miami is the favorite, minus 132. So not really any value there. And the way that I handicap, there's no way I would play Miami at minus 132 when I have them at an actual dog lines, because there's no value there. All right, Yankees, Philadelphia. Yankees at plus 140. Philadelphia at, Yankees at plus 140. Philadelphia plus 105. Actual line, Yankees minus 140. Philadelphia plus 120. Chicago White Sox, we have that one at plus 100. Cleveland minus 120. Actual line, very close. Actually dead on the actual sportsbook line. Chicago White Sox plus 112, Cleveland minus 122. Next matchup, our line for Kansas City is plus 115, Detroit plus 120. Actual line, KC plus 105, Detroit minus 125. Mets, we have Mets at plus 145, Boston at plus 100. Boston can definitely hit. They struggle pitching-wise. So the actual sportsbook line is Mets minus 108, Boston minus 102. Hi from Portugal. What is up, man? Hope all is well there. And finally, last matchup, Seattle. We have them at plus 120. Actual sportsbook line is plus 194. Houston, we have them at minus 120. Actual line is minus 214. And this is a prime example where obviously Houston is the favorite, but they knew the sportsbook knows they're going to get a lot of action on Houston, so you have to increase that line so that they can increase the dog line to get money on Seattle to help balance out the books. Even though realistically the line should probably be closer to what my power rankings show, which is Houston minus 120, Seattle plus 120. Okay? All right, so that's the power rankings. Now I'll have those posted daily. They are absolutely free right now. If you go to my website, MGCovers.com, you can see those power rankings. I actually have them listed. It's the very first post on my webpage. And at some point, I'm not sure, maybe here in the next week or so, actually we'll charge for those power rankings. It's going to be $29.95. You'll have access to power rankings from all the sports that I handicap, which will be Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL football when it gets started, and soccer as well. But for now, they're absolutely free. So if you just go to my website, mgcovers.com, you'll have access to those. So let's dive into our 2 free plays. Before we do that, don't forget to follow me on all the social media outlets, MG Covers. You can find me on Instagram and also Twitter as well. I give a ton of content out, kind of inside information on sports betting. I'll give some handicap lessons out on Instagram, so that's a good follow on Instagram if you haven't done so already. All right, so let's dive into our first preview for today. Toronto Blue Jays, Washington Nationals. Line is Blue Jays plus 110, Washington Nationals minus 130. Let's look at our pitching matchups. Trent Thornton's on the mound for Blue Jays. Has absolutely struggled last year. 6.9, 4.84 ERA. And considering Washington's a good hitting team, I'm sure they will get some runs off him early. Anibal Sanchez going on the mound for Washington Nationals. 11.8, 3.85 ERA. Very, very solid pitcher. So our play is going to be Washington Nationals minus 130. It says 130. We actually played it when it was minus 125. If you play it at 130, that's still good value there as well. So that is our first play, Washington Nationals minus 125. Okay, so let's look at our second play for today. Tampa Bay playing the Braves. Oh, and back up. One other factor to remember with this shortened schedule, teams will be playing back-to-back-to-back. You have Toronto had to travel from Tampa all the way to Washington with no rest, so that does sort of factor. That's another angle that we can have. Whereas in this matchup, Braves have to travel to Tampa, so that's actually an advantage for Tampa. But anyway, Braves are plus 120. In this matchup, we have Folkenevitz on the mound for the Braves. Not bad last year, definitely improving. 8-6, 4.54 ERA, had 105 strikeouts last season. And the Tampa Bay is sending their, quote, ace to the mound, Tyler Glasnow. Now, what's interesting about the Braves, one thing to note, you have to realize when you're handicapping baseball, there's a lot of emphasis put on starting pitching, and you can't just factor in starting pitcher. You have to factor in the bullpen as well. And you'll see a lot of runs scored in Major League Baseball in the bullpens when the bullpens are pitching, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 innings. And that's because starting pitcher now in Major League Baseball is a lot better than relief pitching. Relief pitching is not as dominant as it once was years ago. However, interesting to note about the Braves bullpen, in 3 games to start the season, Braves bullpen have given up 0, 1, and 0 runs from their bullpen in their first 3 games to start the season. So bullpen's much improved from last year, very solid. So that's definitely an advantage for the Braves. And of course, we also have, pull this up real quick. It's going to give you Braves hitting OPS here to start the season. Let's see if we have. Yep. Okay, Braves are hitting .805 OPS. You look at Tampa Bay's hitting .697, so that's advantage for the Braves. Again, we only want to play teams that can hit the ball. Pitching, of course, matters, but more than anything, if you have a team that can hit and hit well, you will always have a chance to win the game. Teams that can't hit, can't score runs, it's going to be difficult for them to win, also when they're behind. So our free play for today is, to recap, we're going to play Atlanta at plus 120. We actually played it at plus 125. That was about an hour ago. Still, again, of course, 120 is really good money if you want to play there. So to recap, we have the Nationals at plus, what did I say it was? No, Nationals at minus 125, Braves at plus 125. Those are our picks for today. Don't forget, you can go to the website, MGCovers.com, if you want to see all of those power rankings, which are basically our lines for the matchups. So hopefully we can go 2-0 today, get back on the winning train here, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.